Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk ETC. As my guest today, I have Classic Kevin, who is doing lots of stuff for the Ethereum Classic system. So welcome, Kevin. Now, before I get started, I've always referred to you as Classic Kevin. Would you like to say your last name, or is that top secret?
Well, first, it's great to be here. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I've been listening to the show for since the beginning. But yeah, I go by Classic Kevin, which was my nickname given in Slack. But my real name is Kevin Lord.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen you a lot on the ETC subreddit and in Discord. You're always seem to be active and doing stuff. For the people that are listening, so we all know that it takes a lot of different skill sets to make a cryptocurrency system operate. Of course, we need developers, and I hope we need educators like me, and then people that are helping with marketing and miners. And so it's not just any one person that makes the whole thing go. And so you're certainly doing an important component. But why don't we start then by letting people find out more about you? So kind of what's your background before anything to do with blockchains? What were you doing before you met up with ETC, the community?
Well, actually, right before I joined ETC, I was selling solar panels.
Okay.
And that was a experience I won't forget. It was the title was a solar consultant, which is code for door-to-door salesman.
Okay.
So I absolutely hated it, but yeah, I started hearing about cryptocurrency, and I piqued my interest. But I was also a DJ for about 4 or 5 years before that. That's primarily how I made my money. Yeah, I had a few residencies in Orange County, California. Nothing too big, but it's been a passion of mine as well. So besides that, yeah, I went to a few schools. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, I think we were talking before the show, and you said college wasn't for you, right? Not enough value for the money. Was that right?
Definitely, yeah. So I started going to community college. I graduated community college, or however you want to call it. And then I moved over to Cal State, and that's when I started really devoting time to researching cryptocurrencies and the whole ecosystem. And I realized that college might not be for me. I mean, the prices of tuition skyrocketed. It just didn't make sense from an economic standpoint. And not to mention, once you get out of college, there's not that 100% for sure chance that you will land that job that you've been majoring in.
Right.
There's countless stories out there that people spent, thousands of dollars going to school, and, they didn't get the job of their dreams. They had to go work at, say, a minimum wage job or something like that, which is a huge killer because they got massive student loans. And I just didn't want to be included in that statistic. So I decided to take myself out and pursue a full-time cryptocurrency profession, I guess you could say.
All right, good. And so you were a DJ in you were living and had some residencies in Orange County, you said, which, by the way, is where I grew up, where I went to high school, Orange County, California.
Really?
So yeah, so Laguna Hills. So
okay.
All right, so you're DJing, and how does then a DJ get interested and find out about blockchains? Let me guess, Bitcoin was your first way that pulled you in. Is that correct?
Yes, it was actually Litecoin and Bitcoin were the two. I actually, once I started looking into it, I mean, obviously, around that time, 2012, 2013, there was a lot of debate going around that Bitcoin's being used for nefarious purposes,
Mm-hmm.
It's being used on the dark web.
Silk
So,
Road, right? Silk Road, remember that?
Silk Road, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Illegal activities and things like that. So it really piqued my interest. Is why is this? First of all, what is this? I mean,
Uh-huh.
you can't, if people aren't paying with cash, then what is this thing? So I started doing research, and yeah, I found out how mining works, and then I bought a few Antminer S1s and
Okay.
a bunch of little USB sticks,
Uh-huh.
and that's how I started mining, and that's how I
Okay.
started getting into blockchain. And luckily, I mined a few blocks, but yeah.
Okay. So did you make a lot of money? Did you hold on to Bitcoin? Oh,
You know, I'd like to say I did a lot more than I'd like to say I held onto a lot more than I actually did.
uh-huh.
Um, I spent a lot of my profits on stupid things, and yeah, I didn't really save as much
Okay.
as I should have. I mean, in retrospect, I would have been a multimillionaire today, but
Wow.
that surely is not the case. And yeah, you live every day, and you notice, if you would have saved that one block reward, you would
Right.
be, super
Yeah.
rich. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, this might amuse you. I was giving a class on blockchains a couple days ago in Austin, Texas, and there was a young guy, and he said, I'm between jobs. I don't have a job right now."
Mhm.
And then later on, he shared that he had a friend had like told him to buy Bitcoin about the time that you got involved with it, and
Okay.
he made, first it was 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Now it's 100,000, and so he's taking a year off. Basically, he's living off his Bitcoin wealth and trying to actually leverage it into more years off. So
Good for
anyway,
him.
yeah. So all right. So you're curious about Bitcoin. You get into it. You did mining, which I never did. That's pretty impressive that you jumped in that much to do that. And then how did your interest go from then Bitcoin to Ethereum and Ethereum Classic? What's that
Yeah.
story?
So I started mining, and it would be months and months and months before I actually found a block.
Uh-huh.
So I started looking into alternatives and how alternative currencies, cryptocurrencies, were being mined.
Uh-huh.
And so I saw that Ethereum and others were being mined with GPUs, because Bitcoin was being mined with ASICs. So I started researching Ethereum, and then um, I really wasn't that into it at first.
Uh-huh.
I was actually pretty reluctant to spend any time looking at it.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it was just my ignorance or my naivete, but eventually, when the big fiasco happened around the 2016 incident,
Right.
um, yeah, I saw how the fork was handled, and that completely sparked my interest back into Ethereum. And I realized that, okay, this is just like Bitcoin, but you can program applications on top of it.
All right.
So then they split, and I completely disagreed with the way they handled it.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily with the actual fork per se,
Mm-hmm.
but with the way they handled it. I mean, something like only 9% of the total Ethereum that was on in supply actually voted,
Right.
and it was over a 12-day period. So really, really hurt the reputation I had with Ethereum. They had
Now,
with me.
now wait, I have curious about. So you said that the DAO fiasco got you more interested in Ethereum. I would have, for me personally, I was really disappointed and thought I'd have to walk away from Ethereum. So how did that pique your interest in it?
Well, because before I really had no interest in Ethereum, but once I
Uh-huh.
saw the backlash and the frustration expressed by a lot of other folks, I
Okay.
realized that, okay, well, maybe this has some real community to it, and maybe this has some real support. So that's when I started looking at, subreddits and Bitcoin talk posts. And I learned a lot about Ethereum Classic and their direction, and that they were the original untampered blockchain, which to this day I still don't understand why Ethereum Foundation took the name Ethereum instead of something like Ethereum Classic, and we could be Ethereum Core per se, or something like that. That's how it really piqued my interest, was the way it was handled and the way it kind of favored a select group. Because once that happened, it completely reminded me of the General Motors bailout. It also reminded me of the housing crisis bailout. And then I thought to myself, really, in cryptocurrency, this is happening? No, I'm completely against this. This is ridiculous. You can't just select as a group just because they lost money. I mean, obviously, there's ethical things that come into play, but when you say code is law, you gotta live by that. So,
So you respected the principles of ETC, and so that's what attracted you to that community. And that's certainly, I mean, I agree with that. I was the same way. Okay, great. And also, so give us a little bit of summary of the last couple months you've been, as ETC is coming, you've done a lot of work. Why don't you tell us what that experience was like, what you did there?
I don't want to go into too much detail. But so yeah, ETC is coming, started in early August, late July. Me and one other person, they approached me for a marketing position. And so I took over several social media accounts while they went on vacation to a remote island, and never to be heard from again. So I was pretty much on my own for the duration of the time. And I managed to manage successful Twitter account from something like 1 follower to 3,500 followers. It really built up a good following. I know at that time there was a lack of presence in the Ethereum Classic social media. There really wasn't anything being posted on Twitter. There really wasn't any updates being posted. There really wasn't any development information being posted. Any type of information that either end users or developers needed to know, it wasn't being published. So ETC is coming, took over that role, and I think I think we succeeded pretty well. Up until the last few months when things started to go off the rails, and so it was a good experience. It gave me a lot of information with the lay of the land in Ethereum Classic. I met a lot of great people. I flew out to the summit in Hong Kong to represent ETC is coming at that time. By the way, we are now, Classic is coming. So now we're using twitter.com/Classic is coming.
All right. So
that's the new one.
Good. Okay. Now I'm curious. So when you interacted with the community, did you get any amusing questions from people that were investigating ETC? Any that kind of you thought was amusing?
Oh, you mean like general questions?
Here's where I'm coming from. So I was talking with Splix and Elaine, 2 of the ETC developers, and they told me, and they said, Chris, we're constantly getting questions from people that they send their ETC to a somehow
Ethereum address.
Yeah, something like that, and then they're begging us to somehow return their funds to it. and so because I'm in the middle of this all the time, I unintentionally start to assume everybody knows all about what, this technology. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, but I wondered if you had any kind of amusing interactions with beginners like that.
Oh man, I have in my hands, let's see, 30 questions
Okay.
written down by a few random people at a few local community colleges.
Uh-huh.
They range from how stable is cryptocurrency if it's not backed by anything?
Uh-huh.
Can my cryptocurrency be hacked? Uh, what does Ethereum do?
Uh-huh. Right.
Why would I choose Ethereum Classic? I deposit money into a bank account that turns into ones and zeros.
Okay.
Things like that. Things like that. I mean, I have a ton of these questions. And
Now, are these questions that are constantly like you're getting badgered with in your inbox, or where did these questions come from?
they actually come from people on the street. So like when I'm walking on the street and I have like an Ethereum shirt on or Ethereum Classic shirt on or the
Okay.
ETC Summit shirt on,
Uh-huh.
people will approach me and ask me, so what's that on your shirt? Is that Ethereum? And they'll
Okay.
start asking questions. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, these are just a set of questions that I compiled from the ones that I got asked in real life, and then
Uh-huh.
also from messaging boards across the internet.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Okay. So people know to go to you. You're the go-to guy if somebody has a question.
I guess so.
Okay. All right. Good. So then, I know your role has changed recently. I presumably for the better. So you're on to bigger and better things, or uh, the same but better. I don't know how you want to describe it, but why don't you
Definitely.
kind of talk about what you're doing now?
Well, now I've been officially hired by IOHK to be the community manager for Ethereum Classic. So I'll be doing pretty much everything that Carlo V did.
Uh-huh.
So for our users, Carlo V was the community manager before I was the community manager. He
Mm-hmm.
did a pretty good job. He did a really fantastic job. I mean, I did a lot of research on what he was doing to
Uh-huh.
study up on where he left off, and he did an absolutely stellar job. I mean, he was a great asset to the Ethereum Classic community. He went back and forth a lot of the times on Reddit with a lot of the haters and stuff like that, and he
Uh-huh.
really kept the message consistent, and he did very well. So yeah, I'm taking
Oh,
over his role.
all right. Now there's one thing I remember about Carlo is speaking of hostility, people would get a little hostile on Reddit, and he would patiently answer questions, right?
Yeah.
So are you up to that task? If somebody gets belligerent, you can handle them and
Oh yeah.
respectfully. Okay. Okay.
I'll work some psychology on them, and it's all good. Yeah,
Okay.
I've already dealt with that a few times this week, and yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty good.
All right. And so, so with Iowa, you've researched what Carlo has done, and so you're going to be doing pretty much the same, and so interacting with the community, as you said. So, are you going to be? Is it just to new people? Is it to the existing users? What you want to what is your focus then as far as outreach goes?
Yeah, so outreach is just going to be for every user, from the end user to developers to investors to you name it. I'm here to answer any and all questions. I'm pretty much available 24/7. I mean, this job calls for you to be on call 24/7, which
Uh-huh.
I'm absolutely thrilled to do. I actually had a meeting last night at 2:30 in the morning, but yeah, it's just comes with the territory, and I couldn't be more happy with it.
Okay.
I love answering questions for people and helping people understand the technology,
Uh-huh.
understanding philosophies behind it, understanding anything they really don't understand.
So you're an educator. You have the heart of an educator, kind of.
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. And so, any other initiatives, any other things going on currently that you want to share? I know
Yeah,
go ahead.
definitely. So we just launched the Ethereum Classic forum on Monday.
Okay.
So that's going to be the new sort of central hub for any type of new information or original Ethereum Classic content. We're going to try to sort of migrate any type of information that we would normally post on Reddit
Mm-hmm.
to the forum.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have more original content on that forum.
Mm-hmm.
We also have what's called the economic proposals,
Uh-huh.
which have been set up by Anthony and Elaine,
Mm-hmm.
as well as there's a new one that's been posted today by Cody. And these are proposals that anybody can log into the forum, check the proposal, see if they have see if they meet the requirements to complete the proposal, and
Mm-hmm.
then be paid in Ethereum Classic by the Ethereum Classic Cooperative.
Okay.
The cooperative has been extremely helpful and supportive with this forum and providing any type of funding that we need to get these proposals going. For example, one of the proposals was to set up a few testnet nodes and have those testnet nodes also set up a faucet. So when developers wanted to run a testnet, they could have easy access to testnet tokens.
Right.
So yeah, that's an example of one of the proposals. I think that one has already been taken by one other person. But yeah, the compensation is actually quite good. It's $100 an hour up to 40 hours.
Okay. Well, and that's live right now and the forum is where people find out how to apply for that. Is that what you said?
Exactly. So they would go to forum.ethereumclassic.org.
Okay. Well, that's not a small thing. I mean, if people didn't know about that and they had an idea that they wanted to propose, and now you're saying that there's a funding source, I would think they would be glad that you just, broadcast that if they didn't know. So yes, thank you for that. I'm also curious. I'm glad there's lots of choices. What was the issue with Reddit? Because Reddit kind of serves as a discussion forum, right? What was the that Reddit was missing that made people feel that they needed to set up a forum?
Well, to be honest, I'm not too sure. I think Reddit and the forum can coexist pretty peacefully.
Okay.
But I really don't have an answer for that. I mean, we can still use Reddit, and we still will use Reddit as a form of a channel. But we would primarily post original content and content just related to Ethereum Classic,
right,
on the forum.
I can think of one answer, and maybe this is what some people were thinking. So Reddit, everybody can post a topic about anything, right? Mm-hmm. And you can search, but it's not really curated, organized into topics. Whereas I assume that with the forum, if you're interested in mining, you can go to some section, right? And the questions are all about mining, and all the discussions are about mining. Although exactly. Reddit do have other, like there are ones on other specific categories, but I'm guessing there'll be more, or there could be more with this forum than possibly on Reddit.
No, you're completely correct. The forum provides a lot easier way to navigate and find information, whereas with Reddit, everything is a post, and you have to scroll through pages of pages of pages just to find a post that maybe was a week or two ago.
Right.
Whereas with the forum, all you got to do is you could even search the forum and try to find it that way. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more organized, and mm-hmm. you don't have that issue of maybe having your topic downvoted a million times by, let's say, I don't know, maybe people from
ETH.
Okay, right. You said it, not I.
Yeah, that was actually a real problem. I don't think it's as much anymore. But yeah, it used to be a problem. The haters trying to mess up the ETC subreddit. Yeah.
No, it's still a problem.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's a second big reason that a forum is needed. I do remember. Maybe you can also talk about your experience at the Hong Kong summit. But I remember I remember in the audience somebody asked a question, basically requesting what you just did, make the forum, and they said that at the beginning of ETC there was a lot of good discussions that didn't get captured.
Yes. I completely remember that at the summit. That was when Michael Sonnenschein was presenting, and I think you and I were the only two that raised our hands to volunteer for the moderation position. Yeah, I completely remember that. Yeah, that was a big complaint, was that there was a ton of vital information that got lost in Slack, or it doesn't exist anymore, because right now with our Slack, we're migrating everything over to Discord. Right. So anything on Slack right now, there will be no history. So let's say you post something today, if you check back 3 days ago, it's going to be gone, because we just don't have the memory or whatever to keep Slack going, unless we want to shell out a good amount of money.
Right.
Whereas with Discord and a lot of other cryptocurrencies are moving over to Discord, it's completely free. It's as far as I know, it's completely free, or it's very affordable. But yeah, that was a major concern for everybody. Was, hey, well, so and so posted a very good conversation about 3 months ago, and now I can't find it, and I was going to use it as a resource, and now I have to go through pages and pages and pages of Bitcoin Talk forums or Reddit forums and things of that nature. So we're going to try to build this forum. I mean, it's only been deployed for 3 days now. It's just the beginning.
Right.
We're planning on making this the central hub for Ethereum Classic. So we plan on doing a lot of special things, like maybe giveaways, maybe contests, maybe things to reward our users, things of that nature.
Good, great. By the way, since we mentioned the summit, and you're passionate about marketing, how did you feel that the summit went, and what was the benefit of having that summit? You want to talk about that?
I could talk about that for hours. I was absolutely ecstatic about the way it was handled. To be honest, I had not low, but close to low expectations, just because of the fact that nobody had met anybody in real life. It was all just pure, I guess you could call it conjecture at the time, because it was all based on the internet and on what people said. And so yeah, once we got down to the summit, and the first night I went out and checked out the ballroom, and I saw the list of all of the sponsors and the participants, I started to get really excited. So the next morning when the summit first started, I saw a lot of people I knew from the internet, like Red Anderson from Ninja Pool, and Roy Zhao from the ETC Consortium. And it was insanely helpful to see the actual people behind the development of Ethereum Classic, because that's one of the major rumors, or how should I say, misconceptions that people have about Ethereum Classic, is that there's only 3 people working on it, and there's no development, and they don't have any projects, and it's just a copy and paste coin, and this and that. But this summit actually absolutely blew me away. There was something like 220 people from, I think, 15 or 20 different countries, and it was absolutely fantastic. I have to give major kudos to Matt Beck, Michael Sonnenschein, and Meltem for organizing all of this. They did a fantastic job, as well as Barry. Barry also helped.
Yeah, they're the people you mentioned are from Grayscale, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so Grayscale and Digital Currency Group. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They were absolutely fantastic. I couldn't ask to work with any better people. They're absolutely great.
I also thought it was great that there was a big Chinese presence. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it wasn't you couldn't really categorize the conference as just a developer conference or just the miners or just the this or that. There was investors, right? Miners.
Yeah.
There was everybody was there.
Yeah, and even Whale Pool was there. Oh no, I'm sorry, Whale Panda. I'm sorry. You know who I'm talking about? Panda.
Okay. No.
Yeah, he was there also.
Okay.
So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic seeing a lot of these YouTubers and major Twitter influencers, and yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. Completely blew me away.
Right.
We addressed a lot of the major issues and a lot of the major concerns that people had. And but seeing all of the dev teams there, except for Ethereum Commonwealth, it was absolutely such a relief because prior to that, obviously, you don't know who's behind any of this. You know, it's just whatever you see on the internet, you know, quote unquote fake news. But once you see them in real life and you speak to them about the projects and things going on, it completely changed my perspective. And yeah, that's when I started to get a lot more bullish with Ethereum Classic.
Right. Now, would you agree with this? So my impression from a lot of what you said and other stories is, so for the first year, right, we're approaching a year and a half of Ethereum Classic's existence, but the goal was, of course, just to stay alive. And you shared some of the hostility on the subreddit, and so it was just trying to maintain, keep the development going, get the word out. And now we're kind of in the second stage where we know we're going to survive, and now we're cleaning up the loose ends. Like you just said, you're moving into a new role. We're moving now from Slack to Discord, and it's just like now we're just kind of improving. We're for the long haul. We're laying the foundation. Would you agree with that?
Oh, you're completely correct. There's a interview with Charles Hoskinson and another fellow. He goes by the name of Bitcoin Benny, and they did a 4-part series right after the summit, and they completely touched on that. And what you just said is what Charles actually just said, is that ETC is actually coming off of its post DAO, surviving phase, and moving into the divergent thriving phase. So yeah, I thought that was a major turning point for sure.
Yeah, and then like the forum is an improvement over the subreddit. So now things are just getting a lot more polished, a lot more comfortable, a lot more professional. And so by that pattern, the momentum would imply that then the next summit is going to be even better, right? And it's just all uphill, not uphill, but it's all just greater, keep growing and growing. And so great things ahead.
I hope so. I really hope so. From speaking with the folks from DCG, it looks like we will have another forum, although it might be in Patagonia. I'm not sure.
Okay. And then like every complaint that people made about ETC, it looks like they got addressed. Like there's no development. Now we have 3 development groups. There's no deep knowledge. Now we have, IOHK came out with the Mantis client. They built from the ground up. They built their own client, their own software
from
node.
Scratch.
Right. And so it's like everything, all the challenges seem to keep getting met. We had our own conference. And so I'm trying to think of any other complaints people would make that need to be addressed. I can't really think of any off the top of my head.
One of the complaints would be that Ethereum Classic has no real funding, and they have no real ways of funding development and things like that, which was completely debunked when all of the dev teams actually flew out on the on the dime of their own development teams.
Uh-huh.
So also DCG helped bring a lot of the speakers to the conference.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we have a lot of support, a lot of support financially with the Ethereum Classic Cooperative, and yeah, it's been a really, really great experience since the summit.
Okay, good. Now, so as we wind down this interview, you've said a lot of good stuff. Even just getting the word out about the funding source was that right there made the whole interview. If anything, just that was valuable. But is there anything else that we haven't touched upon before we close that you want to mention? Like, what are your hopes, dreams for the future, the near term and long term, regarding marketing or anything else?
Well, going on in the future, we have plans on redoing the actual website.
Okay.
So that's in the works right now. I'm sure a lot of our users know that the ETC website is not as good as many others. So that's one thing we're definitely going to be changing.
Okay.
As well as with the forum, we're going to post more content, post more proposals, post more incentives for users to actually contribute to the ecosystem and to the forum itself. But yeah, marketing seems to be going quite well. We're actually looking at IOHK to, they're actually looking for a new, I believe, marketing manager.
Okay.
So once they get hired or placed, it should be smooth sailing from there for sure.
A new ETC marketing manager? Is that what
I believe marketing manager as a whole. So
okay, I see.
Both Cardano and ETC.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah. So one other thing I wanted to address was hopefully by the end of this week, we will have the Mantis client release candidate ready.
Okay.
But that's based on a lot of contingencies.
Okay.
So we're really aiming for the main release in sometime in the next few weeks for sure.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe not everybody, but I know that software is right there. There could be snags, and so things often take longer than we think they'll take. So that's perfectly understandable.
Oh yeah.
That schedules can slip, but there's good work getting done, and it'll eventually get finished. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a great quote by this absolutely great philosopher. His name is Dr. Dre. I don't know if you've heard of him. But, he says release dates are the enemy of creativity. So I think by not giving the public actual release dates, I think that greatly increases our chances of succeeding and having a successful launch with a proper, securely audited and fully functional client for sure.
Okay, well said. Yes. Yeah. So that's the type of comment I would expect from a DJ, from a DJ to say. Yes. So, all right. Well,
definitely.
Thank you for all your great work. Thank you for taking the time to enlighten us, give us an update, and we appreciate it. And anything else before we close that you want to say, or are we good?
Yeah, just check out for any of our users out there, check out the forum. It's forum.ethereumclassic.org. Feel free to sign up. You can have access to the ecosystem proposals where you yourself could actually propose some type of improvement for the ecosystem, whether that's a new block explorer, whether that's a new project of some kind that will benefit the ecosystem as a whole, and earn ETC at the same time. So it's a win-win-win for all three of us. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So once again, thank you, and for everybody listening, happy holidays, and I will see you in the new year.
So definitely.
All right, bye-bye.
See you later.